Chancellor, students, honorary awards. I'd also like to extend on something the Vice-Chancellor said a little earlier, and I want to extend a big thank you to all the friends and all the family members who have helped the graduates who sit in front of me actually achieve this goal. So thank you very much, friends and family. A round of applause. I just want to be quite clear in that wasn't the reason I said those words isn't as a consequence of my father and my stepmother, who afforded me the same support whilst as an undergraduate at Anglia, Ruskin University, or 20 years ago now. So I've been asked to do a snapshot review of what my career has entailed since my graduation, as I say, 20 years ago. So, as mentioned a moment ago, I started just a stone's throw away from where we're all sitting this afternoon, at Donald and Aitchison. It was a great start to my career because, as a company, they were really, really keen to train their staff. So I learnt a huge amount about training a team within an optical practice. But the most memorable moment, unquestionably, was the opportunity I was afforded to dispense what I would describe as a living legend, a gentleman called Professor Stephen Hawking. It was a wonderful moment, and I'd be lying to say I wasn't a little anxious at dispensing spectacle correction to him. But on collection, I was fairly certain that we'd done a good job, given the words that he'd afforded us as to how well visually he could see the screen and get about his daily business. And I was less concerned, as it were, a few years later when I saw him appear on a Specsavers advert, waxing lyrical about the actual amazing correction that they could provide. I sort of figured to myself that, well, he paid for the correction from us, whereas I'd imagine Specsavers paid him for his time on that particular advert. So to move into, soon after the dispense of Professor Hawking, I moved just across the road to Boots Opticians, and put simply, that was the most amazing part of my life, because during that experience, I worked alongside my future, now my current wife, and she's an amazing character. And I've not been afforded enough time to go into the details, but just one snapshot thing that she's brilliant about is reducing the amount I speak about spectacle lenses when I return home of an evening. So, as life lessons go, graduates, that's fairly smart, whichever discipline you're in. Don't talk too much about work when you get home to your loved ones. The other bit of snapshot areas, I've been fortunate to be afforded the opportunity to actually speak across national, local radio stations. Funny situations, that, because this has happened on 3 occasions where I've had to get myself into central London, and then you hold up in a tiny room, recording studio, and then between 10, 15 national commercial radio DJs actually ask you questions. One thing that you get used to is the briefing they were given by whatever PR agency. They often go off tack and they ask you questions about their own ocular well-being. So you end up on the radio talking about their ocular situation and what spectacle lenses they should be wearing. On top of that, and this happens really, really recently, the Daily Telegraph, I've been interviewed by several journalists across a handful of topics, including signs when you should realise and should notice to make you understand that your parents need an eye exam. Certainly around short wavelength radiation, so the damage to ocular tissue of UV and blue light. And a key thing that I've learned from this is very much be careful with journalists, because it's interesting how they interpret actually what you said. Even the Daily Telegraph seemed to want to sensationalise everything. So before it goes to print or before it's published, certainly take a good read at what the journalist has interpreted, what you actually said. And for the first time in my life, certainly, I felt a little bit of sympathy for politicians, because maybe they didn't read the final copy before it went to press. And last but by no means least, the other great situation I've been afforded by the company I work for is international travel. So over the last 20 years, or 15 years, I've travelled extensively across Europe, but particularly my international head office is in Paris. I've also, because of my British Standards role, I've travelled into America, an interesting venue for one international conference around spectacle and designs was within Las Vegas. Interesting distractions that you have outside the four full days of really technical presentations you have. And last but by no means least, and this was fairly recently, I've travelled into Asia, I would say, and recently it was Shanghai, and I find it very, very interesting how our Chinese cousins at the airport and the hotels, they treat a European Caucasian in a wheelchair. They're super, super keen to offer as much support as is possible, which is really, really good. But I'm more than happy to carry my own bag. But they felt it appropriate to walk alongside me whilst I was carrying my bag. And because my Mandarin isn't quite ship-shape and Bristol fashion as yet, I was unsure how to converse with them. But last and by no means least, what I want to do is to congratulate all the graduates who are sitting with us today. And the last, I want to also thank the Vice-Chancellor for the award. Thank you very much. And my last closing words will be, whichever route you choose, whether it be face-to-face, dealing with actual clients, whether you are actually in a lab doing some research, whether you stay within the academia framework, as it were, whichever direction you actually choose, just know that you're at the start of what will unquestionably be an incredible journey. So best of luck with your careers. Thank you.